Mark Hamill.
It's, you know, I never get used to the kind of passion that that they've had all these years. Because I go back to my regular life and I'm picking up after the dog and bringing the trash cans up to the road. But I think we just have the greatest fans. They're like family now.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
Greatest fans in the world, probably better than, say, I don't know, Harry Potter fans.
Oh! I would like to say, but
I was amazed. I mean, I thought I knew all your credits. I read your book.
Thank you.
I wrote a blurb for your book.
You did indeed. There's a quote from you on the back, isn't there? Yeah.
I'm still waiting for my check, but... no, if you haven't read his book, it's wonderful. Have you seen Life's Too Short? Hilarious.
Thank you, Mark.
No, really, and supposedly Nathan, my son Nathan designed this shirt, by the way. Go to nathanhamill.com to see all of his art.
It's a great shirt.
But he has the special on that little chip. So
I sent it to him, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have a screening of that tonight, I think.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, lots of mentions of Star Wars in the series, of course. Yeah. Absolutely. So what does it mean to you to come to celebrations? It's great that you do come to these events, and, you know, the fans love to see you. You're very popular.
Well, let's see. I did one in England, one in Japan, 2 in Florida, and then of course today I'm here in Germany. And it's like I say, I never get used to it.
No, and you notice each time it seems to be more popular than ever. Even when there isn't a movie to celebrate, celebrating Star Wars just seems to get bigger.
Right, and they know more about the movies than I do.
Yes, I found that as well.
I think I've forgotten more than I knew. When I was actually involved in making the films, I was, you know, always bugging George for minutia and, you know, why am I living with my aunt and uncle? Where's my mother? Where's my father? You know, he would just make up lies to make me go away because he wouldn't tell me the truth. And but, you know, there's so much has been written about it since. They've done novels, they've done technical manuals. I mean, the ancillary market is just enormous.
Yeah.
And you have to remember, a lot of the characters that we knew on set didn't get a name until Kenner made a toy out of them. So we always called it the medical droid. It wasn't IG-88 until it was a toy. That's the dustbin robot.
Who was that?
I don't know what...
R2-D2?
No, the little one that walked around and his feet went like this.
Is it like the gonk droid? That's the gonk droid, I think, Mark. That was a good impression.
Thanks very much.
Very good indeed.
By the way, those Lukes at the beginning of the show were making me a little nervous. They're very, very good.
Very good one.
And Mark Daniels is an amazing...
Isn't he terrific? That warm-up guy?
Wasn't he great?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw him in Florida and I thought, we're not going to be able to hang on to this guy. He's too talented.
He's a very talented guy, absolutely. So you talked a little bit about, you know, finding out about your characters. Did George not give anything away? Did you find out anything while you were making the film that that wasn't in the script, basically?
Well, you know, obviously I was like trying to fill in the gaps, you know, for myself and to understand the story better. But famously, when we did Empire, in the script, it didn't say, I am your father.
No.
He said, you don't know the truth. Obi-Wan killed your father. And I still did that, no, like it is. But the line that was supposed to be dubbed in later was, Obi-Wan killed your father. Now, if we did this on a Tuesday, let's say, by Thursday, there was only like 48 hours before on the front page of one of the English tabloids was, Guinness head baddie in Star Wars 2.
Oh.
Because somebody on set went down to the pub and there was a guy, you know, from the newspaper handing out 50-pound notes for anybody that would give them any information. So I was sort of secretly delighted that they had leaked false information.
Yeah.
But Irvin Kershner brought me aside and he said, okay, I'm going to tell you something, and I know this, and George knows this, and now I'm going to tell you. So if you tell anybody, we'll know who leaked it. Oh. And I said, what? And he said, here's the real line. And then he told me. Wow. I said, really? So fantastic. What a secret. I mean, I'm sure I'd get White House clearance because I didn't leak it. I was too afraid. I mean, I'm not boasting. I was just, you know, too terrified to be fingered as the guy that ruined the ending. And that's the one thing that's really bothering me about this modern age. I mean, I love the internet like everybody else, but there's such instant communication, and there seems to be a desire on people to get information out that would be better if it were a surprise.
Yes.
So it's too bad, you know. And I was just saying backstage, you know, I had sisters who would love to go and snoop around my parents' closet and come and tell me what I was getting for Christmas. So, oh, don't tell me, you're getting the mousetrap game, or whatever. And I didn't like that. I like surprises. So, you know.
Well, there's lots of surprises to come, hopefully, in the new films. I mean, everyone here wants to probe, don't they? But we shouldn't probe. We should just go, show it to us. We can't wait to see it.
Right, and you know, to tell you the truth, I really don't know that much about it. I know, like you know, that they're making some really smart choices. Disney's done so well with the Marvel franchise, with the Muppets, with Pixar. They know how to do what they do and let the creators do what they want to do. You know, because people are making jokes about, oh, is Goofy going to be in episode 7? They were, by the way, they were asking all these actors if they want to be in episode 7. And I thought, well, this is kind of mean because they're putting people on the spot.
Yeah.
A lot of people were trying to be nice about it, where you could tell, well, oh, I'm more of a Star Trek person or whatever it was. But one of the person that surprised me was Steve Carell. He said, oh, I'd love to be in it. I thought, wow, how great would it be to go to work every morning and see Steve Carell? And I had this fantasy of the whole cast being nothing but people that make me laugh, you know. Brian Regan, Andy Kindler, yes. Sarah Silverman, Tina Fey, Stephen Colbert, nothing but comics. Yeah,
it'd be quite a different movie. Didn't you find the first script quite funny when you read it? Isn't that what?
You know, I've always thought of I know there are serious elements to our films, but I thought it was hilarious. I thought it's so funny that these robots are arguing over whose fault it is. They're so neurotic. I mean, it just was really a fresh approach to fantasy, because normally, and science fiction especially, is very serious and dry. And
yes,
you know, when I read the first film, I thought, wow, there's a farm boy, a princess, a wizard, a pirate. It's so close to being a fairy tale. If we weren't traveling around in spaceships, we were traveling in carriages through the forest, you could really see elements of Wizard of Oz in it, I thought. And like I say, I thought it was hilarious. I mean, we risk our lives to save the princess, and she takes one look at the Millennium Falcon and goes, you came in that? It so reminded me of my sisters being embarrassed for when we would drop them off at school. They'd say, yes, drop us off a block away so we don't have to be seated in this crummy car.
Now, you mentioned Alec Guinness there, and a wizard. Yeah. Isn't that what he said? He was delighted to be playing a wizard.
Well, I couldn't figure out why we were so lucky to have Alec Guinness in the cast. If you told me ahead of time that that's who we were going to ask to play Obi-Wan, I'd say, well, good luck with that. And so I did. I asked him one time, once I got to know him a little bit, and I said, why did you want to do this movie? He said, well, I always wanted to play a wizard. No, I'm not going to do my Alec Guinness.
It was very good.
No, you know, I was dubbing, I went in to do a couple lines on Family Guy, where I give a laser surgery to the guy through his head. And I'm listening on the headphones, and I said, I can do a better Alec Guinness than this. I probably really hurt myself, because it turned out it was Seth MacFarlane who was... So he said, let's hear it. And so, you know, I did it. And he said, okay. So he let me do it. But no, Alex said I always wanted to play a sort of a mentor, a wise old, you know, sage who and he said he really felt the same as I did, that it was very similar to a fairy tale. So he thought it was a great film for children, which is what we all thought. You know, we never expected to be on the cover of Time magazine, that's for sure. And I remember thinking, I said, boy, even if this thing tanks at the box office, it's got midnight cult film written all over it. Remember? Because, you know, Rocky Horror Picture Show didn't do well when it first came out, but it got discovered and there was a cult following and they'd show it on midnight screenings. I said, this thing for sure is going to be appreciated by people like me, because I was a huge fan. I mean, I grew up reading Famous Monsters magazine and idolizing Ray Harryhausen and all the old Universal monsters and so forth. And when I read it, I could not believe my eyes. Because remember, I got the part only having read 7 pages of dialogue. I didn't get to read the whole script.
Right.
When I went in and tested, I tested with Harrison, and I figured, well, he must be the leading character. And I'm his sidekick, because he was a leading man, and I wasn't. He was, because I said to people, what is this thing that they're doing? It's the guy from American Graffiti, right? And they said, yeah, it's sort of like Flash Gordon. So when I went in and I recognized Harrison from American Graffiti, and I went, oh, he must be the Flash Gordon part. And I said to him, hey, Harrison, is this like tongue-in-cheek or something? Is it like Mel Brooks, or is it serious? Or, he said, hey, just, you know, say No. I'm just trying to give you a feel of what it was like, you know. I'm not doing an impression of any sort. And I said the same thing to George, you know. I mean, because I couldn't figure it out. I mean, I should play it sincerely, or is it arch in some way? Are we sending it up? I always quote the line that I've never forgotten in all these years. It's not in the movie, so for you people that like, you know, trivia, I remember we were doing the scene, you know, he's headed for that small moon. That's no moon, it's a small space station or whatever. It was rewritten, so it was just Solo and Luke in the Millennium Falcon going towards what turns out to be the Death Star. And, you know, Solo says, hey, kid, you know, I've done my part. You're going, I'm going to take you back or whatever. And Luke turns to Han Solo and says, and again, it's indelibly printed in my memory, but we can't turn back. Fear is their greatest defense. I doubt if the actual security there is any greater than it was on Aquilai or Sullust. And what there is most likely directed towards a large-scale assault. I said, a mouthful. Who talks like this? Because, I mean, it made sense, but we can't turn back. Fear is their greatest defense. In other words, the size and the look of it is intimidating. I doubt if the actual security on whatever we're going towards is any greater than it was on Aquilai or Sullust, which must be made-up names for planet or planetoids. Yeah. And what there is most likely directed towards not just a little ship like ours, but a large-scale assault. So, I mean, I could diagram the sentence, but I figured, how do you make it sound like, you know, it's spontaneously coming out of your mouth?
Well, that was one of the problems you had with some of the dialogue, wasn't it? Making it sound real when it was things that you'd never said before, and you would never normally say.
You know, Harrison's famous quote was, you can type this shit, you can't say it. So, but, you know, that was part of the fun, you know, and it's, because I said this, George, you know, at the screen test, I said, so are we making fun, is it arch or send-up? And he's like, oh, let's just do it and we'll talk about it later. Oh, okay. And so it was my call. And I thought, well, you know, far be it from me to sort of judge, you know, I should do it as sincerely as possible, and that's what I ended up doing.
And you did indeed. And what was the moment that you realised that this film was a hit? Was there a particular moment, an event that you attended that you thought, hang on a minute?
Well, it was interesting because on the day it opened, they sent a card for me to drive in and do ADR, which is additional dialogue recording, dubbing the 35 millimeter print, because the 70 millimeter, we opened, I think, something like 35 theaters, which is silly these days. They open up, you know, in 2000 or whatever. So we were going towards Hollywood, and I said to the driver, can we go by the Grauman's Chinese Theater? Might have been called Mann's then, I don't know, I always called it Chinese, but I just want to see what it looks like outside the theater. Because when they opened the movie, there was no poster. They couldn't figure out, they couldn't decide on a final poster, so they put pictures outside the theater, but there was no poster. And we drove by, and in the middle of the day, there's lines around the block. I couldn't believe it, because I thought, how do these people know? This must be just really hardcore sci-fi and fantasy fans. Yeah. But that didn't mean anything. I thought, well, it's the first day, so they're curious about it. One of the things that really surprised me was, and where I sort of thought, oh, this is bigger than we thought, is we started the North American publicity tour. So it was Carrie and Harrison and I, and we went to, I think, Vancouver. And we did some press there, television, radio, and newspapers. And then we were flying to Chicago. And when we landed in Chicago, we looked out and there were all these crowds. So I got really excited and I said, there might be somebody famous on the plane. And so we're looking around, you know, thinking, who knows? Well, I was thinking it might be a politician or something. Maybe Teddy Kenny's on this flight. And then as we got closer and closer to the terminal, I went, hey, look, Harrison, there's a guy with a vest that's dressed like you. Oh, Carrie, look, she's got your furry headphones. Oh, there's me, there's more me's. And signs and stuff. So we were stunned, because what happened was when we were in Vancouver, I don't think it had opened yet. And then May 25th happened. I mean, I might be a little off, because both these stories I'm telling you are true. I did go by Grauman's on the day it opened. And then we did have this trip. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, it might have been, I'd have to go back and, I wish I had kept a diary now, but who knew that it was important?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, but it was unexpected nonetheless.
Totally unexpected. Well, I thought it was going to be popular. I remember I had a friend that worked at the LA Art Museum, and I said to Jonathan, well, look up all this, you know, he had access to files where you could find out how much, like, King Kong made in 1933. I said, and Wizard of Oz in 39, I said, well, if you could read, you know, print out the data, why don't we just look at all the fantasy films from the sound era through 1977? And so we're, you know, looking over all these grosses and everything. I remember thinking, and I declared, this thing's going to make more than Planet of the Apes. I meant the Charlton Heston one. Not the Tim Burton one.
Right.
And to me, I said, it's going to make $40 million if it makes a dime, which would be enough to make the sequel. Because the original movie, I think, we started out at, I think it was supposed to be $7 million. And then we went over, and I think it cost $9.5, which is like the catering budget on The Avengers.
Yes.
But it's a different time. It's a different era, you know. I mean, I totally get that you can't, it's not analogous to, you know, compare 35 years ago with now. But I was very optimistic. I said, you know, I remember saying, we're on a winner for sure. But I mean, again, I couldn't have predicted that it would become such a part of our culture.
So you were keen to do another one? You were keen for it to carry on?
Yeah, oh yeah. But, you know, I thought, it's so rich, you know, I mean, it's such a broad spectrum of characters, you know. I mean, it said, remember the first time I saw the title page, it says, The Adventures of Luke Skywalker is taken from the Journal of the Wills, Saga #1, The Star Wars. And I'm going, because I hadn't read the script, I just read like that scene. I said, oh, wait a minute, Harrison's not Luke, I am. That's weird. So I have a bigger part than, I thought I was going to be like running to get his tools and right, boss. And so I started reading this thing, and I can't tell you, I was sitting I had a little one-bedroom apartment out in Malibu, and I'm reading this thing, and my eyes are bugging out of my head because it was all there. I mean, we didn't have the John Williams score yet. We didn't have I didn't see really the art direction. I saw only the printed word. But to me, all the elements were there. It was just one of the most enjoyable scripts I had ever read. But as an actor, I'm thinking, ooh, I wish I were playing Darth Vader. That'd be a much better
Yeah, we always want to play the villains, don't we, as actors?
That, or the Han Solo. He's wisecracking and cynical, you know, come on, the Force. Rolling his eyes, you know. And I thought, again, the robots, I thought, were absolutely hysterical. I mean, they reminded me of Laurel and Hardy or something. Just a wonderful double act. And as each element came together, and I went and I visited where they were, you know, the costumes were being fitted, and you saw drawings and Ralph McQuarrie's artwork. I mean, I just get the chills thinking about it all over again. And I'll never forget the day Gary Kurtz picked me up in his car and drove me to, we're going to Universal. I know we went over to Topanga Canyon, but he had the tapes of the John Williams score for the first time. And you remember now, science fiction a lot of time had electronic, synthesized music and so forth. And when he put that tape in, and you can't imagine what it was like to hear that music for the first time. It just, I was stunned. And I always say he has so much, you have to give him so much credit, because it was the music of the golden age. It was like Alexander Korngold. I mean, it was Captain Blood and, you know, those fantastic adventure films of the 30s, you know, full orchestration. It was just, again, I thought, boy, are we lucky. They're making all the right choices. And that's what I think about the new ones. I was starting about how, yeah. So I'm cautiously optimistic about the new trilogy, because, you know, you start out with, you know, Disney knows what they're doing. Kathleen Kennedy's resume speaks for itself. J.J. Abrams just, you know, is cutting edge, brilliant writer-director as they come. And then, most important to me, was Michael Arndt. I thought, oh my God, he wrote Little Miss Sunshine, he wrote Toy Story 3, he's very gifted in writing for ensemble pieces, and he writes humor, and he writes warmth and heart and character, and plus, supposedly, he's a huge Star Wars fan, so that can't be too bad.
And they just announced, of course, that John Williams will be doing the score again.
This is what I've heard.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Because I honestly, I mean, I thought even if they do 7, 8, and 9, it's not going to be about us. I never expected. I thought we had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that was the end of it. And then, of course, George for years has been saying that he's not going to. He didn't want to be doing the movies in his 70s and 80s. So it never occurred to me that they would do them. I mean, I doubt, I would imagine it's going to be about the next generation, and we'll have, you know, age-appropriate roles more along the lines of a Peter Cushing and a Alec Guinness than, you know, huffing and puffing and swinging with the princess. Yeah, I gotta go into Tashi Station and dig up some power. Just one question. What is a Tashi Station?
Mark, we've been hearing you do some voices along the way here today, and it's enthralling. I mean, you're working on a new series, are you? The Sushi Girl.
Well, no, I did a movie called Sushi Girl,
okay,
which is kind of a not for everybody. It's certainly not for young people. It's sort of a Quentin Tarantino-esque, grim gangster picture. I just enjoyed it because I was able to be physically transformed. I think I had 28 hair extensions and horn-rimmed glasses, and it's a gruesome character. I mean, I read it and thought, you know, he tortures someone with pliers and on their teeth. I thought, I can't even imagine filming this, much less contemplate filming it. I mean, I've been married to a dental hygienist for all these years, and, you know, she doesn't tolerate hygienic mayhem. Dental mayhem. but it turned out so well. Tony Todd's in it. It's a great cast, and you can get it on video on demand. But I thought I'd mention it because it's a little movie that deserves a little more attention than it got, I think.
No, absolutely. And
it was out of my comfort zone. It was totally out of my comfort zone. And I love when I get pushed to do something, because, you know, now I'm at the age where, to me, if I can stay in my pajamas all day long, that's a win.
Yeah. I know the feeling.
So, I mean, and that's what I feel about the new movies. They're working on it. I hope they work it out, and I hope I get to be a part of it. But, yeah. But see, be careful what you wish for, because part of me thinks, you know, that we should leave well enough alone. There was a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it's all, everybody lived happily ever after, you know. And then the other part of me is thinking, well, if they're going to go do this thing, how could I miss out on something that exciting? I mean, especially if Carrie and Harrison and Billy D and Aaron are new, or
I don't know.
No, I really feel like, I mean, they ought to try and find everybody that, you know, that's still around, that are out there. You know, Ula,
she's still here. I had her on that couch sitting right there just a minute ago. I mean, not literally. I mean,
and you know what's so...
All right.
You devil, you. But now, you have to remember, when I saw her on set, we used to chat and everything, I never saw her out of her green makeup.
Oh, I think I'm going to say something else. Okay, yeah.
And I'm thinking, even because I said, oh, we should get her back in. And they said, oh, but she was fed to the Rancor. I said, well, she can play something else.
It's a shame, isn't it?
I mean, the way I feel about Ian McDermott, I thought, you know, in this world, you can imagine. Someone said to me, did you get your hand cut off because they retrieved your hand and cloned another you? I said, I don't think so. I think that got thrown in the dustbin with all the other leftovers.
Do you think Luke ever got to pick up his power converters?
Well, you know, very briefly, because this is important to people like you that know these things so well. One of the reasons I wish, if you read the novelization, they talk about me going to the teen club after I'm the only one in the movie that doesn't have his original entrance. In other words, when you see Princess Leia, that's her first shot. Yeah. When you see Han Solo, that's his first shot, and so forth. Luke was originally seen right after the jettison, take
the escape pod.
There you go. You cut to this kid out working the evaporators, and he sees a little glint in the sky. That's where you see that upside down hat with the goggles. It's that outfit. And I take out my little binoculars and I see it, and I jump on the land speeder and rush over to the teen club, and I see Biggs Dark Glider played by Garrick Hagan and Anthony, I'm blanking on his last name, but what I'm saying, Koo Stark, all these people. And the only reason I think this is important, I always thought, when they restore these movies, why don't they put that scene back in? Because it's the reason I think it adds to the movie is for several reasons. First of all, you see that Luke is not a popular kid. They make fun of him. They call, oh, Wormy's been out in the sun too long, you know, all that kind of stuff. And he's ridiculed by his peers. That's number one, and I think that's important. And then he bumps into Garrick Hagan playing Biggs Darklighter, and I'm knocked out by his uniform. And I'm jealous. I so want to get off this godforsaken rock. You know, as soon as I can, I'm going to sign up with you, because he's part of the Empire, you know. What I loved about that, he brings me aside and says, well, Luke, to tell you the truth, the first time I get a chance, I'm going to jump ship and join the Rebel Alliance. I said, you are? What I thought it showed was that, again, Luke has no political agenda. He's like any teenager that is tired of living at home and wants to break free of his parents, or in this case, his aunt and uncle. And I thought, well, that's really important, because it shows he's unpopular and he has no agenda. He's not politically motivated at all. And that's important to the storyline. Plus, it makes Biggs' sacrifice at the end, at the assault of the Death Star. He does a maneuver to try and clear the way for me, and he doesn't make it. So it's like one of those old World War II films. They got Charlie! Oh no! I'm doing it for Charlie. You know what I mean? That's that World War II moment. So I was disappointed because there have been so many endless incarnations where they tweak this and that. And he shot first and he shot that. And, you know, they took out the blue milk and made it green. Who knows? With all the tweaking they do, I thought this one makes sense because it adds to the storyline. But that's just me. And by the way, to show you what devotion I have as an actor, that blue milk was long life milk. It's made to stay fresh in the desert or whatever. It needs no refrigeration. So it came in a little carton, and you pull the tab, and you squeeze it out, and they add blue food coloring. And I thought, well, if there's blue milk in the scene, I'm drinking it, because it's so odd.
Yeah.
Oh, what a decision that was. Because it had this sweet kind of oily taste. And I thought, you know, one thing that made me think, a lot of times I have doubts about myself, but I said, wow, I'm really a good actor in that scene because I didn't gag and barf.
And also you snookered yourself because each take at each different angle, you had to drink it again.
And you have to match what you did before, but again, live and learn. I knew it was going to be terrible, but I thought, what opportunity am I going to have to drink blue milk on camera ever again?
Never, my friend,
never.
Never going to come up.